Over to you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister and officials. I'm going to be fairly concise, and I'm going to pull on the people thread. The investments are good, especially in the Arctic, as we talk about infrastructure, we talk about equipment, we talk about our development in NORAD, as well as using contracted solutions for maintenance on certain lines. But we also know that there are some activities that fundamentally require humans, and humans that often wear a uniform, because even to get people to live in the North is extremely challenging. Say hi North and there's heck no. So my question, Minister, is we were just on a NATO interparliamentary tour de table, and there were some people who spoke quote, knowledgeably about the personnel situation within the Canadian Armed Forces. And as we know, fundamentally, things change rapidly in militaries out of necessity. And I must admit, having recently left, I found some of the messaging quite troubling, especially in terms of the inner challenges, which I know we have moved on for. So I have a two-part question for you. The first part is, what messaging should Canadians be hearing about where we are right now in terms of progress in creating the cultural environment people want to be in? And then secondly, with that, is as we move to the north, we can certainly look at improving a Ranger footprint and presence, but there is likely going to be a requirement that we need other humans who do not normally live that far north to work in the north. So what do you anticipate your footprint is going to look like, and how do you see that occurring in terms of mix between military, civilian, et cetera? Thank you.
A question which allows me to address one of the most important endeavors of the Canadian Armed Forces and the broader defense team in its history, and that is ensuring that every person who puts on a uniform can do so with the protection and respect that they need to do their jobs in serving this country. And that means addressing sexual harassment, that means addressing sexual misconduct, that means addressing discrimination and ensuring we have an institution that welcomes everyone. And I want to assure this committee that this entire team here takes this matter extremely seriously. And so that is what is broadly referred to as culture change in the Canadian Armed Forces, but it is also institutional change and growth, so that the institution of the Canadian Armed Forces reflects the demography of our country and ensures that everyone has a place. Everyone who wants to serve can do so with protection and the respect that they deserve. Now, that requires reforms, and we are very seized with reforming the Canadian Armed Forces to ensure that that broad objective occurs, including implementing all of the recommendations that we received in the report of the Supreme Court Justice last year. All 48 recommendations. I put a plan before the House of Commons which indicated how we are going to undertake this task. So it's not just words. It's actually action, and you will see that action continue to occur in order that we build the Canadian Armed Forces of the future. In terms of reconstitution, that is one part of reconstituting the Canadian Armed Forces, but there are other aspects to it. Retention, recruitment, and we have strategies to address both of those, as I'm sure you know. Why? Because building a Canadian Armed Forces, which has more and more individuals serving, is necessary to ensure a robust military for our security and defense. And I have been clear since my appointment that we need to grow the Canadian Armed Forces. We're asking more of our military, and we need to grow more personnel. We ask more of our military domestically in forest fires and floods, even in COVID-19, in terms of being in long-term care homes and delivering vaccines. Internationally, our forces have trained over 36,000 Ukrainian armed forces. They're in Poland, they're in England now, training Ukrainian armed forces members. All of this suggests the need to continue to grow the Canadian Armed Forces, not only in terms of capabilities and procurements, but also in terms of our numbers. And these two things are interlinked, because as Canadians see that we are acquiring, for example, new capabilities, the 88 F-35s, my hope is that they will see that the Canadian Armed Forces is a place where that they can build their future. Now I will ask the Chief of Defence Staff if he has anything to add.
So, Mr. Chair, just in terms of cultural evolution, we are addressing those aspects of our culture that need to change. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find another organization in this country that is putting as much effort into making sure it's an organization in which all Canadians can see themselves, in which we can attract and retain talent from all segments of Canadian society. There are aspects of our culture we absolutely have to hold on to. That selfless service, that willingness to put yourself into harm's way to protect others, that willingness to go to the other side of the world to do good. Those we absolutely have to retain, but it's the ability for this organization to make everyone, all segments of Canadian society, believe that they have a place, which they do. And so the message is that this is a fantastic organization filled with fantastic people doing fantastic things, and there's a place for you in it. Every time that we travel the world and see our people doing business, it's inspiring. It's purpose. It's meaningful work. So that is the message. In terms of your second question regarding a footprint in the north, as we look at some of the challenges, especially in terms of infrastructure, I don't see large bases of permanently staffed capabilities with families in the north. I see a persistent presence where we move capabilities from the south to the north depending on what the demand is, whether it's search and rescue, as brought up before, if we see something coming in terms of a domestic emergency, if we have to pre-position air assets for a threat, but being intelligence informed to be able to pre-position those forces to create that more enduring persistence as opposed to permanent presence.